We'll talk about
It's quite put. Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? Okay.
Everything.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm Ian. This is Jason.
Hi.
We're Sinners Review podcast, part of the Sinners Music Empire. And as you can see from Jason's screen, he's got the Sinners logo behind him. Podcast about music and art. We were trying to do them every week, but actually we've come to the conclusion that we can't do them every week. So we're going to do them every fortnight. So this will go out on Monday, and then the next one will be in a fortnight's time. And we have got some other business, any other business from the last podcast, because your question to me was, did I ever have, what was the worst haircut I ever had? And I did promise that I would bring up some photos, didn't I? So I went through I have a few sort of books with photos in of starting with the mid-80s. I'm just going to share my screen because I've got 3 photos to show you. So can you see my screen?
Oh, yes.
Right. So this, it's not actually a mullet when I've come to look at it, but we'll come back to that one. But this photo here, with the black and white photo, with me with a weird bow tie and a very strange earring, that was in the mid-80s, and it was a band called Powergram. And
Powergram.
I had that haircut.
Who's the guy behind with the LA Raiders?
That's Al. That's Alan. He was the bass player. He doesn't look anything like that now. As you can imagine, he's lost all his hair, poor lad. I had that haircut when I got married. So this was before I got married, but in fact, all the band came to the wedding. So that's one of them. Okay, let me lose that.
You look like, is it Peter Wiley from Pete Murphy from Bauhaus?
I'll take that. I will take that. So that's one of them. Let me lose that one. Here we have same band, different singer. Professional Sphinx Management and
Nice.
Entertainment Agency.
Are you the one in the yellow skirt?
I'm the one in the yellow skirt. So I am our manager was quite upset because apparently the photographer had put me with a white jacket and Paul, guitarist, behind with white jeans. So, anyway.
Yeah.
So
it's very Bucks fizz, that one.
Isn't it just? So
Look at your mate next to you, short shorts.
Oh, Ray, yeah. He now lives in Spain.
Shorts.
Same band, different singer. Actually, it's still, my hair's still a little bit of a mullet, but fundamentally it was the same sort of haircut. So that was mid-80s. So within a couple of years, really, 'cause it's still the same band. This photograph, this is much later actually, and I'm sort of rocking, shall we say, a Thompson twins, I think, would be my. So this was a duo. This is me and Lionel. This was early 90s. So, but yeah, so that those are my. I won't say that they're not as haircuts. They're not that bad really of the time. But there we are.
I like the keyboard tie standard.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. So I'll stop sharing that now. So, but yes, so there we are. I have shamed myself with my haircuts, and all the other haircuts are pretty normal, really. That's about as wild as it actually got,
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So how's your week been?
Yeah, okay. Had a rehearsal at the weekend for Sona Vida gig upcoming.
Yeah.
End of the month.
Just before sorry to interrupt, I'm just going to share my Gaza Coke.
Gaza Coke.
I told you last week I've stopped drinking Coca-Cola. So this is Gaza Coke, and a glass of. So this is as good as Coca-Cola, twice the price, slightly smaller can, um, but comes from Walthamstow on the same street that Chocolatine have their cinnamon bun.
Nice.
So, and all the profits
Nice.
go to charities in Palestine.
Okay.
So it
So
was
you
worth
don't mind paying
it
double
was
if
worth
it's
paying twice as
going
much.
to a good
You know, I
cause.
had to buy a case of the stuff to try it out, but yeah.
Right.
So cheers.
Is it all right? Is it okay?
It's great actually. It's as good as Coca-Cola. That's the diet version as well because they do a regular version. It's better than the Asda the bottle of Asda Coke that I bought in the meantime. And I don't drink Coca-Cola all the time, so I like cans because that's the first can I've had this week. You know, so rather than a bottle, because once you open a bottle, it goes flat, doesn't it? Anyway, enough Coca-Cola chat. Sorry, you were saying you had your rehearsal for Sona
Yeah,
Vida.
we had a Sona Vida rehearsal on Saturday because we got a gig in
3 weeks.
September the 27th, a
Yeah, end of
place
the month.
called Stum. They put on kind of grassroots music every Saturday. And yeah, so we were lucky we've got a gig there on the 27th of September. So that's going well. We're preparing for that. Got another session on the 20th just to get it finalized. So it's
Is it
looking pretty
paid?
good. It is paid, yes.
Good.
It's ticketed, and the
Oh,
money
good stuff.
it's £10 a ticket, and the proceeds go to the artists.
It's good
So
actually,
yeah.
because so
Um
so often, stuff's not paid these days.
yeah.
You know, I
And
know that
I
EMOMs aren't
get
paid, but they're a different kettle of fish altogether.
I get the feeling, looking at what the promos they put out, they tend to get a fairly it feels like, and I'll tell you in a couple of weeks, it feels like a sort of venue that people go along to check out what music's coming through. It feels like it's kind of well supported. So hopefully we get a good turnout.
Is this in box? Is this the one in box?
Box. Yes, the
Yeah,
one in box, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The Queen's Head, I think it is in box.
I mean,
So it should
I
be
haven't
good.
been to box yet, but box is where Real Studios is.
That's right, Peter
Just
Gabriel's
yeah.
studio,
Do
yeah.
you know what? Have you
Yeah.
been? Have you ever been?
Only driven past it and gone, oh, there it is.
All right.
But I don't think you can get right down to it. I think it's quite private and secure, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
So,
Yeah.
so that was good at the weekend. And then spent a couple of days in Paris, as you do.
Oh yes, I heard about the parrot.
Um,
Yes. So
yeah, so when I went to Paris with my daughter, who started uni there, I came home early because I came home Tuesday night. I was meant to be there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I came home Tuesday night because there was a day of striking action in France,
it really kicked
all
off on
across
Wednesday, I
France.
think, is what
Yeah,
I
it was
saw.
a complete shutdown. There were blockading roads, all the
Yeah.
transportation was shut down. So I didn't want to get stuck there. So I came back Tuesday night. And yeah, so I mean, hey, the French are revolting. Boom, boom.
At
Aren't
the
they
best of
always
times.
revolting?
I've got French friends, so I'm only joking.
But then it was weird because I came back in London on Tuesday night, Tuesday evening, and obviously there's tube strikes in
Oh
London,
God,
and
yeah,
it was really
yeah.
bizarre. I didn't bother getting it. I had to get from St Pancras to Paddington, and I had an hour and a half to get across town. And I thought, well, I'm not getting a taxi. Couldn't get the tube, not getting a taxi. I
Yeah,
thought I'll walk it. It said it was going to be a 50-minute walk, so I thought I'll just power walk it.
yeah.
And it was weird arriving back in London and just everybody was overground. Nobody was underground, right? It was
Apparently,
just
somebody had said it
bizarre.
was a bit like Beijing with loads of bicycles everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I've heard people saying. It was everyone was, that you couldn't get a line bike. Everyone was on the line
No,
bikes. All the roads were gridlocked. And then there was just lots and lots of people walking everywhere. It was New York style crammed pavements of people walking, everybody harumphed, not
yeah,
enjoying it. But it was very interesting.
yeah.
Quite a little bit bizarre, really. Um, so that was about it. Yeah, got back Tuesday night and then headed back to work last night and in work today. So, what about you?
Cool.
We had a quick coffee on Sunday, right?
We did,
And caught
which was
up.
nice actually. It was good that. It's
Yeah,
good to have a
yeah, it
proper
was good
catch
to
up and
catch up.
see each other
What,
in person for a change. So,
what you been up to since?
so I've spent money. So I have bought. I was toying with the because I use Isotope for mastering, and I've used it since Ozone 6. And I didn't buy Ozone 10 and 11. So my version was Ozone 9 was the last time I did an upgrade. And then when I looked at my profile, because what they do is, I mean, it costs several £100 to buy outright. But mine was 200 quid to do the upgrade. And then somebody said, well, have a look at the music production suite. So I had a look at that. And the music production suite 8 got me, it gave me Ozone 12, the latest version, advanced, RX 11, which I do need some of those sort of repair tools, especially because I'm trying to work on a Catering the Questions album from 2014, where the vocal has got a terrible, well, it's not really a reverb, it's an echo. Whoever was doing front of house and recorded it just was really doing a really poor job. So I need to audio repair that if I can. I've had a mate who've had a go at it, and I want to have another go at it and see if I can make it better. So I've got RX 11 standards. Melodyne comes as part of it, which last time I used Melodyne was version 2 or 3, really early on, which could be useful. Neutron 5. Now, I use the visual mixer of Neutron, and always have them since it first came out.
That's where you can lay things front, back, left,
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Yeah, and they've improved it quite a bit because there's AI elements to all this stuff, and you have to take them with a pinch of salt, But I can use the AI elements to start it, and then
tweak from there. And they're very open about that.
Oh,
they're
yeah,
very open
yeah.
about that, aren't they? That run the AI tool and then tweak.
It'd be interesting to see whether the Ozone mastering assistant, which I do use. I mean, it's interesting. I've used it since it first came out in version 9, I think. So I'm now 3. I haven't. I'm going to start doing some mastering tomorrow, actually. So it'd be interesting to see how much they've improved that, because I didn't rely on it ever. I always run a bit of the track through it, and then usually ended up taking off some of the things that they recommended. So I didn't find that it was particularly good on Ozone 9. So it'd be interesting to see how it is on Ozone 12.
I've got 11.
You've got 11.
Yeah, I don't use it for mastering. I use certain elements of it, the tonal balance control, so it shows you where the overall mix is on the spectrum. I do use some bits and bobs as needed. I think you're right in terms of turning things on and off. So if you get an AI mix, I mean, Isotope were one of the first ones that were open. They were very transparent about that it was AI, and they're promoting AI before it became the thing. A day doesn't go by where you don't hear AI now, right?
I know.
So they were very open about that years ago. And I think, as you say, run it, get a start point, turn the modules on and off, and see which ones you think are making a difference. I found some of the transient stuff was added too much coloration, and it was making stuff sound too sweet for the sake of it a little bit, which is kind of why I went off it. I've then found it also made me a bit lazy. So coming off it, I've started to understand how compression works better, how EQ works better. It can make you a bit lazy. Do you know what I mean? If it's giving you a ready
I think you're right. The interesting.
But you already know those tools, right?
Yeah.
So
one of the new modules is making a track more dynamic.
Right.
Now, I don't like I very rarely would use a brick wall limiter. I don't like that. I like to have dynamics in everything that I master, really. And I'm no, as I've said before, don't take my word for it, I'm no mastering engineer, really. I'm just doing, I have been paid to do mastering in the past, but generally I'm just working on my own projects or things to do with Sinners music to some extent.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. I mean, I think I probably won't use that very often. It's very rarely that I would have to go back and look at a track that's got that is really, really over compressed and all the rest of it to put some more dynamics in. But it's an interesting thing that they've put it in it. Yeah, so I mean, I've done a couple of tutorials on it, just to sort of get up to speed a bit more, really. Like I said, I'm starting to master an album tomorrow, which is the next thing that we're going to put out, which is the Azimuth Tilt is the artist. It'll be out on the 1st of October on Bandcamp and then the 14th of November on streaming, and I am mastering it, and it is going to be, well, it is an ambient album. It's very ambient.
Okay.
So there's a couple of tracks already on Bandcamp. Somebody's already bought it, bless them. Thank you, Dave. So yeah, so I'm doing that. I've been listening to it today and just finalizing the layout of the tracks, really. And then I shall master it tomorrow. I'll start mastering it tomorrow over the next couple of days. What else have I done? I went to Froome Film Club last night for the first time. Went to see I'm Still Here, which I have to say was an incredible film. So it's a fairly modern film. I don't quite know. Last couple of years. I think I probably said last week it's a Brazilian political drama, but I didn't realize it was a true story. And it's about this family, and basically it's set in the 1970s when the military junta in Brazil, basically where people were disappearing and people were being arrested and tortured, and it's just it was just really, really well done, and to some extent heartbreaking at times. Right. I don't want to say too much because I would recommend it if you get a chance to see it. I mean, I don't know whether it had that wider distribution, but it's called I'm Still Here. Like I say, a Brazilian film, so it's subtitled if you're not like in subtitle film. But absolutely brilliant, brilliantly acted. Everybody was brilliant. So it's a family, husband and wife, and five kids, I think it is. Yeah, they've got 5 kids. And how they are coping with the actual, the way that military are dictating everything to do with Brazil in the early 1970s.
Okay. And what's the film club work then? So how does it work? Is it a film every
the
week,
Froome
every
Film
month?
Club is once a month. There's going to be a film. Okay. I think the majority of them, if not all of them, will be subtitled, and they're all films that I've never heard of. Next month, I haven't even looked it up yet. Something called The Beast.
Okay, so you've already got the listing.
Yeah, there's a listing. So it's 30 quid for 10 months, but to 10 films.
3 quid a movie then.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Exactly. And it was really well attended. It wasn't full.
Same price as your Garda Coke.
Exactly. Happy days, really. Yeah. So and it gets me out of the house as well on a Wednesday night once a month.
Yeah. Nice.
I'm going to say because Jane can't go to all of them, and we've both signed up. So if you're around on a Wednesday, I know that's highly unlikely, but there will be times when I'll have a spare ticket. So,
okay. Yeah.
I'll give you first refusal if I know you're not around. There's other people I can offer it to, and apparently they encourage that. The fact that you've paid for a ticket, but if you can't go, which I thought was really quite cool, actually. So it was quite long. It's about 2 hours, 20 minutes. Wasn't, it didn't feel like that because I was completely engrossed with it, and so was Janie.
Right.
The only irritating thing, and I've always had a bit of an issue with this, is people. The minute the titles come up at the end of a film, people get up and put the coats on and all that sort of business. Well, this film, you are actually seeing the live photographs of the family of the film that you've just seen. So it's actually quite
the
important.
real people, not the real people, not the actors.
Yeah. So I think that's quite important to see those photographs. Yeah. But it was so irritating because literally 95% of the people got up and started walking out and started talking. And I'm thinking, sod off,
Right.
Just sit and watch the end of the movie because this bit's as important as everything else. Anyway, that's rant over. What else have I been doing? So I did a little bit to this Katie and the Questions album. That's probably about it, really, I think. I've been in contact with Aesthetica people. We're going to start doing some stuff for them in the lead up to our visit in November.
Nice.
So they're just going to share some of their material for us to put on social media. Interestingly, they have got, I think I said last week, they've got there's this music element to it, much so, but they've also got like a fringe thing. There's a music fringe thing. I don't know the full details yet until Phoebe sends me more information. But they are certainly moving. I mean, it's not just film. It is. There's going to be more things to do with music as well, which is quite good for us, really.
Good.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, awesome. Yeah, good.
So
I
yeah,
look forward to
that's
seeing
pretty
that.
much it, really. You know.
Nice. I am. I'll maybe talk about it on the next one. But I'm going to see Left Field tomorrow in
All
Bristol.
right, great.
Document in Bristol. They
That's
did a 25 anniversary gig.
that's where Bristonica is, isn't it? That's where
Is it? Is it so?
Machina Bristonica's there. Yeah,
Okay.
an
Yeah,
interesting
I've not been
venue
there.
actually. It'd be interesting to see a gig there because really it's just a great big bloody warehouse.
Warehouse. Yeah, it'd
Yeah.
be interesting to see how they handle the sound, I suppose. But yeah, so going there tomorrow. So I'll give you next session. I'll talk you through that. But I do like the Leftism album. It was great at the time. The one we released the pressure
That's
on
the
and
one that I think I've got
with like a
on
big mouth
CD.
on it with a speaker in the
Yeah,
mouth. I think was
yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
the lady from was she the singer of not Lush? One of those 90s shoegazing bands sings on one. It's gone. It's gone. I'll look it up for next time.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be interesting. And I'd
Yeah,
like
it
to know
should
what you
be.
think of because the concert element of Machina Bristronica is done in the bar. So they
Okay.
have a stage in the bar, but you'll be in the main auditorium,
Yeah. Be
you know.
interested to see how it goes.
So
So
yeah, I mean, I
yeah,
don't know what
looking
the
forward
sound
to
would be
that
like
tomorrow.
because I mean, I'll be honest with you, the sound in there last year, at Machina Bristronica was well, there's no soft furnishing, so it's just anywhere. But
I suppose when
full
it's
of
full of people.
yeah, if there's 1,000 people in there, it should
Yeah.
deaden the sound a bit, you
Yeah,
know.
we'll see. Yeah, it's good.
Cool.
Yeah. Trying to get try and get some regular gigs in. So it's good. So,
Right.
we
Excuse
said we
me.
were going to talk about kind of how, music consumption trends, music, how people
Yes.
buy music. Um, it's there's some interesting. I've done some research. There's some kind of interesting journeys. Actually, I think um, there's a lot of positives in terms of what's happening in how people are consuming music these days. I think there's a lot of negatives, but
Yeah.
there's also some positives, I think, on some of the trends. Do you want me to kind of make a start with? I'll do my
Yeah, you can
usual
do.
kind of boring, give you some
I'll be honest.
stats.
I've done less because I've been doing other things. Obviously, I've done less research, but I did do a little bit. I
Okay.
did try and find my MySpace,
Ah,
and my MySpace I can't find, but I can find the other MySpace that I used to run, which was for the Ryan Sherlock and the Bloody Marys.
well,
That is still there.
nice.
Most of the content, like the photos and all that, isn't there. The two tracks that we originally put up are still there, and they've had something like 4,000 plays, but I couldn't get them to play when I tried it.
Okay.
You know. But
Yeah, I
anyway,
guess
that's
no
jumping
longer
ahead. But
updated. And
so are we starting? Are we starting with wax cylinders?
well, I kind of haven't necessarily gone back to the beginning. I've done more of a what's going on in today's climate in terms of
Fair enough.
habits and listening rather than going right back to the
Yeah,
beginning.
no, that makes sense.
So, and I focus very much on the UK. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not a global thing, but focused on the UK. So it's worth saying, kind of, the music business in the UK is still a very, very important industry, right? You only need to look at whether it's exporting Oasis,
yeah,
continuing their world tour, topping up their coffers. You can look at the charts, any charts somewhere around. Hey, I was in France, and nearly every supermarket, every shop I went in, they were playing either UK or American music,
yeah.
right? So it's still something that we're very, very good at. We're very, very good at exporting it. So the music industry in the UK is worth 2.4 billion pounds. So it's
A
still big
year,
bucks.
a year.
Yep, yep, a year. So music consumption in the UK did reach a 20-year high in 2024. Now,
All
mostly
right.
driven by streaming, but also a resurgence in vinyl. So music consumption today in terms of volume is now outperforming what was the peak from the CD days, right? So, CDs came out in what, 85 or something, maybe a
Yeah.
bit earlier. I think Dire
Yeah.
Straits was the first CD, was it? Was it
That
not?
was the first. I think that was the first. That was the first big CD, if not the first
Major
CD.
release.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it was it
so-
Brothers in Arms.
that's right.
I
Yeah.
was working in a hi-fi shop at the time, and I got sick to death of hearing it. I have got that CD, but it just
Right.
that was on every CD player. That's what we played because the production values were great. It sounded really good,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, I probably yeah.
So that was seen as the peak of music, the whole CD industry, shifting volume. But it's passed in 2024, it passed that for the first time. So streaming alone generated the equivalent of 178 million albums.
Wow.
Now, the encouraging thing with that is, and there's pros and cons of streaming, and kind of we'll get to that, and everybody has different views of it. So streaming did grow in 2024. It did grow 8% year over year. So it's still continuing to grow. People are
That's
still
interesting.
continuing to subscribe and stream. However, the encouraging part is vinyl sales last year grew more than 10%. So sales in vinyl is growing quicker than streaming, which is really interesting. CD sales are kind of flat, so people still are buying CDs. It
I'm buying
stayed pretty flat.
CDs. In fact, if
Yeah.
anything, I've gone back to buying CDs
Mm.
rather than. I'm not going to stop having my Apple Music account, but I like the idea of actually. I like the fact that I've bought a physical item rather than I'm just renting. Because
Yes,
fundamentally, we're with the streaming service, we're renting, aren't we? You
exactly,
know,
exactly. So what's quite interesting, in terms of the resurgence in vinyl, so growing 10% year over year, is many of the kind of Gen Z people are buying vinyl. So if you look at the biggest selling album of 2024, no surprises, Taylor Swift, right, in the UK.
my daughter-in-law bought it. In fact, my kids buy more vinyl than they don't buy
Right.
CDs, and they've got a Spotify account, which I'm desperately trying to get them to move to a. I mean, I've probably said this before. I'm trying to get all four of them. They've got a family account between the four of them, so two boys and wives. And I keep saying, if you move to Apple Music, I'll pay for it because we can. They can, but
Yeah.
I can't get through to them. It's look,
Well,
look, lads, it's free. It's free. You know.
and you can import your Spotify playlists into Apple Music now as well. So you don't even
You
have to
said
worry
that
about
last
that.
week. I'm gonna have another go when I see them. Actually,
That's another selling point.
yeah, yeah. So when next time we actually all four of us get together, I mean the girls actually were more interested. They would say, well, if everybody else is up for it, but the boys were going, no, we're not, can't be bothered,
Yeah.
you know.
So the Taylor Swift one, again, just trying to pull out positives here, is that so it sold 800,000 copies, the album,
Is this the last album, the
the
poets
Poet one,
poet
Poet,
one?
whatever
Yeah,
it
that's
was.
the
Yeah.
one. That's the one that Belinda bought. Yeah,
So 13% of the sales of that album was on vinyl. So it was
yeah.
they shifted over 100,000 copies in the UK on vinyl, which was interesting. The biggest selling single of 2024 was Noah Khan. He sold 2 million.
Yeah. I listened to that.
2 million units. I mean, that's pretty big, right? 2
Yeah,
million
yeah.
units. So, people are still selling in volume. Um, I guess, the streaming still does dominate. And I think a little bit of that, I mentioned I was traveled from one capital city in Europe to another this week, and everybody's wearing headphones, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Everybody's got
yeah.
headphones, whether they're Apple or whether they're Beats or whether they're something else. I'd say at least one in three people have got headphones on and they're all consuming music.
Mm.
So, on average, people are listening to 21 hours a week of music. So, whether you like how they're getting that or not, it's still a positive thing, right? That people are still very much enthused. People are still very much consuming music a lot of the time. Has
And
to still be a
that is
positive thing.
that is a real positive. I mean, I guess playing devil's advocate, some of those people will be listening to podcasts because the rise of podcasts
and audiobooks
and audiobooks and stuff like. I mean, I've gone through the audiobook thing, but I have genuinely cancelled my subscription now to Audible. But you've got to say the lion's share of those people are going to be listening to music, and that is definitely a positive thing.
Yeah.
That's good.
So if I carry on with my stat attack, I'll just quickly share my screen for a bit of an infographic from the phonographic industry. So it was actually 2023. Can you see that yet? Yes.
There we go. Yep, I got that.
So there's some quite interesting stuff here in terms of, as I said, 21 hours per week is the average amount of time people are spending listening to music, which is kind of going up. Here's kind of a breakdown of how people are engaging with music. So, large chunk is audio streaming. A large people are still video streaming. So a lot of people are consuming music, YouTube, TikTok, etc. Right, and it's pretty much on a par with Spotify, Apple, and everything else. Right, people are video streaming as much as they're audio streaming, and TikTok is absolutely a big driver of chart success now. Right.
Well, you've got 10 minutes, haven't you? Because of TikTok, once they increased the size of how big a TikTok, can be, so you can definitely play a whole track.
Yep.
That way.
And people also just put that. What's the catch? What's the chorus? What's the breakdown? What's the middle eight? People use that as well, don't they? With the right, it's short form video by definition, right? So 17% are still listening to the radio, which is interesting. Either live or catch up.
Well, it's interesting. I could fall into that. I never listen to the radio live, but I do listen to the BBC. What is it? It's not iPlayer, is it? It's the audio version.
BBC Sounds.
BBC Sounds, and I listen to the same shows every time. But I'm almost like a month behind. Right. So some shows on Radio 3, a couple of shows on Radio 6. Don't bother with Radio 1 and Radio 2.
It's
Radio
not like the old days of taping John Peel.
Well, actually, I used to. I've said this before. John Peel, I have to say, was most of what John Peel played was unlistenable to me, but I was really glad he was out there. He was doing that, and I believe he did play one of the bands that I played in at the time.
Nice. Nice.
But he was a champion of what is now underground music.
Oh, definitely.
And there isn't really anybody close to doing that now. Some DJs will say that they are, but they aren't.
I think some people are, but I think there's many of them now, depending upon your taste. John Peel, a lot of people gravitated to him, didn't they? So quite interesting. I guess we got a minute left, right? So 9% people are purchasing music, 4% is still live music, and then people are still looking on TV. So there's still a spread. So while streaming,
I have to say though, Jason, live music 4% is bitterly disappointing.
Well, this is of all the hours that people spend. So I guess if you listen to music 10 hours a day, I suppose going to a gig you're just going to consume an hour or two. So that's probably skewing that, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe.
So some interesting there in terms of people's music engagement. There's some things here. So 48% listen to music using subscription audio streaming. So half of the people do. There's high awareness of AI music capabilities and recognition that it shouldn't be used to clone or impersonate artists. I guess, the phonographic society would put that and would want to highlight that.
That's a whole problem in its own right, isn't it? That's a whole podcast in its own right about the way that it's become. It's a sidebar, but I watched a couple of videos this week, and I'll put them in the links down below. One by a guy called Venus something or other. Anyway, and he was saying that that people are finding that their albums are being taken down because of AI music being put onto playlists, particularly in Spotify, and then say that I've put a track out. It gets added to this particular playlist. I don't even know it's been put up there, but then because most of the music on that playlist is AI generated, and somebody complains about it, they don't contact me. They just take my album down. And that,
Right.
and there was another girl, she was a harpist, and she had exactly the same experience. So, sort of smaller artists are now seeing that this is happening to them. Now, I don't
Right.
know whether it's just Spotify or whether it's happening across the board. We know that the bigger problems with AI generated music are probably generated by, well, certainly sanctioned by Spotify. If you read Liz Pelly's book,
And I don't think
but
it's only them. So
no,
I was reading something the other day that it was 18% of all music on streaming platforms, and it wasn't exclusive to Spotify, it was all of them, is AI generated.
right,
Now, I think it's particularly bad with Spotify because they're actually generating their
yeah,
own music,
yeah, I believe that's
filling up
true.
their own playlists. So therefore, that's continuing to reduce the amount. I mean, it's zero cost for them, right? So they're
Absolutely,
getting
that
revenue
was the
from
whole point, and
subscribers.
that
Yeah,
came out in Liz Pelly's book. The fact
yeah,
that they did do deals with record companies, and then they realised that the record companies were taking a fairly big share of their profits, and they obviously don't want to pay record companies. And we're only
yeah.
talking about the big record companies, not tiny ones like ours, because we don't get the better royalty rates, and we're meant to. But that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
So it's a yes, they are generating it, and the other thing that was mentioned in Liz Pelly's book was that Spotify have paid an artist to be, so shall we say, a dozen fake AI generated artists.
Right.
So they'll pay somebody a fixed fee, keep the copyright themselves, and then they populate it with, say, get that one person to do a dozen, whether it's albums or whether it's probably tracks, isn't it? Because they're less interested in albums, you know. But
Well, I
it's
noticed.
sorry, go
So
on.
I've also moved to I've moved to Apple Music now, and the sound quality is much, much, much better. My own album, the Ramshackle album that we
Mm.
put out earlier in the year, if I've been listening to that on headphones while on the go, I've been listening to it on Spotify. Now I put it on Apple Music, I'm hearing the album completely differently. I'm hearing things that I heard when I was producing it,
Yeah, we were
when I was
mixing and
writing it,
mastering it. Yeah,
that I'd actually lost sight of because I was listening onto Spotify,
yeah.
just because it compressed the sound. On Apple, it's so much fuller, wider, and just the frequency range is more. It's how I thought I heard it, and I'd forgotten I'd heard it like that because I've been listening to it on Spotify for 6 months.
I mean, there's still a
Just
compression going on there, but I think
sure,
I think on Apple Music, well, because you've also got other things that you can get with Apple Music. But so I think that they actually, although there is some compression going on, it's clearly at a much higher quality, and they've, I
it's
mean,
lossless, right? Is what they're
it's,
doing.
yeah, that's it. It was lossless. They don't
Yeah.
shout about that, and to be fair, they should be shouting about that
It
because
is. There is a very noticeable difference. Now, granted, I'm listening on Apple earphones, so of course their own platform is probably customized and best suited for their own headphones. Why
I'm not
wouldn't
so
it
sure
be?
it is because you've
Right,
got the better AirPods. I've got the standard AirPods,
right.
but I've also got a pair of Cambridge Audio in ears,
Hmm.
and the Cambridge Audio in ears are better than my standard AirPods.
Okay.
The reason I don't use them all the time is that they're actually quite fiddly to put in. You have to push them in to make a seal in your ear, which you don't need to do with AirPods.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm getting better quality because I'm making a seal.
Sure.
I'm basically cutting out all that other stuff. You've got noise cancelling and things like that, and other things going on with the newer versions. So
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that they're better. My youngest son has also got the same AirPods as you, and I had to listen to them. The noise cancelling element is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it is good.
It really
It's good.
is good when you consider
Yep.
what they're just hanging in your ears.
Yeah,
You're not
good.
making a seal.
So,
So sorry, go on.
well, I've just got one last bit of stats really on
Sure.
music habits, streaming, and then really I wanted to talk a little bit about um, royalty payments. So for
Oh
each
yes.
medium, how much goes to the artist, um, and then really at the end I'm going to kind of recommend what's the best way. What I would say would be my recommendation of what's the best way to enjoy music whilst maximizing the share that's flowing to the artist. I think we probably know what that
That sounds
answer
like
will
a
be,
good thing.
but
Yeah.
yeah. So let me share my screen once more as it worked last time. Um, hopefully it works this time. So
Yay.
this is a little bit about streaming. And again, it's 2024, it's UK. So 32 million total subscribers in the UK. So this is just doing the split. So Spotify are absolutely dominating the
They are,
market. They've
aren't
nearly
they?
got half of the
Yeah.
subscribers, right? Interestingly, Amazon are number two. I didn't expect that.
Yes, I've seen. I mean, I don't think I've seen this particular graph because from 2024, but I think I saw the 2023 one. The
Right,
Spotify share wasn't as big, but
right,
Amazon was second then,
right.
and then Apple Music. So yes, and
Yeah,
I was surprised at that. Without,
yeah.
you know,
It's interesting. And then YouTube music. And this is subscribers. So an awful lot of
yeah,
people go onto YouTube, put up with the ads and listen to music on there, right?
yeah,
So it's only when you're subscribing. There's also, it's 32 million subscriptions out of a population of 70 million, right?
yeah,
It's nearly half of the UK of subscribing to one of these organizations, right?
yeah,
But then there's a bunch of other people that are just, happy to be on any of these platforms and consume the ads. You're paying
yeah.
not to have ads, which is bizarre, right? Um, so I think that's it on streaming. Let me just stop sharing. And it's got quite an interesting graphic. I kind of like visuals just to summarize what the picture is.
No,
It just
absolutely. Yeah, I
kind of
agree.
sticks in your mind a little bit better. So looking at again, just to put the music industry into context, so I said 2.4 billion, I think, in the UK. Um, the video game industry is still dwarfs the music industry. So the video
Yeah,
game industry in the UK is 4.6 billion. So it's more than twice the size of the music industry.
yeah.
Now,
That doesn't surprise me.
a lot of that is because of mobile and tablet. So a
Yeah,
lot of people are playing games on their mobile. Um, that's 1.5 billion of that 4.6 billion. So I didn't really legislate for the fact that video games was more valuable. People were spending more money on that than they are music in the UK, which is interesting.
it is interesting because I mean, I don't play many video games. I mean, I played The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2 and maybe one or two others, and
Right.
I will play them. In fact, I played The Last of Us 1 recently, and I'm not playing video games at the moment, and I will probably start playing The Last of Us 2 again in a couple of months. The problem for me playing video games is that I'm really not very good at it, and it takes me a long time to get the dexterity on the controller, and it always has. That's not an age thing. Even when I was in my 30s playing video games,
Hmm.
I was always crap at them. So, but I think it takes me away from doing things I want to do, which is music. I mean, and let's face it, video games. It's really. I mean,
It's a
I
big
limit
investment.
myself. So, if I would probably go and have my lunch and play for 20 minutes after lunch, or usually when Jane's not around because we have it in the front room.
Hmm.
She doesn't want to see. She's watched the TV series Last of Us, but she doesn't want to see zombies, heads exploding, and all that sort of business. Whereas I'm quite happy to put up with that sort of.
Hmm.
So I would pray. I'd probably play more likely to play if she's out, really. And I don't play for more than half an hour at a time,
Right.
and I don't play every day. I play every 2 or 3 days usually if I'm going to play. So and things like The Last of Us 2 is an incredibly long game, and it will take me months and months to finish it. You know, I've
Yeah,
only
it
finished.
is a big investment
I've only played
in
it.
time.
I played it 2.5 times because I had to reset everything on my PS4. So I've played it once last year, and so I don't play them a lot, and I'll probably it's a game I like. I'm quite happy to do the shoot 'em up element and the puzzle elements and all that sort of thing. When they bring out The Last of Us 3, whenever that is, I will probably have to upgrade, and I will do that. You know.
Right.
So, but yeah, it does suck away time from me making music and playing music and doing things I want to do, reading.
And gaming is still growing, right? It's just still
Absolutely,
growing.
yeah.
It's like,
I think you potentially got a problem where you have people that just spend all day playing games.
yeah,
Because one of my sons, when he was at school, played lots of violent shoot 'em up games, and his behaviour would change. So he'd come down for tea after he'd come in from school, and he'd be a nice kid. He'd go upstairs for an hour, and he'd come down for tea, and then he would be a completely different person. You
yeah,
know. Now he doesn't play games that often anymore, and so he sort of grew out of it. I think there's a problem with people that don't grow out of it, and you do hear of grown men that literally they go to work, they come home, and they spend their whole evening till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning playing games online with
yeah,
other men. It's
yeah.
a very male dominated world, and I do know that girls who want to play games find that quite difficult
Mm,
in those sort of online environments, because
yeah,
I've seen interviews with people.
yeah. I can
Women are
imagine.
not treated very well in those environments. You
Yeah,
know, so and it's not something that I want to. I've never played games online, and I have no interest in doing that. But it's not surprised. I'm not surprised that it's such a big thing. I would like to get into game writing soundtracks, and I did do it. I think did I say last week? I did a. It was meant to be like a tutorial, and it was done with the Ivers. So it's one of my free things with the Ivers.
mm,
It wasn't great actually. There was a panel of 4 game composers. Interestingly, all women,
okay,
which was nice to see actually. But the way it was managed by the person running it, it wasn't particular. I didn't learn very much. The only thing I actually learned was there is a software environment for you to write game music in, and it's not like a normal DAW. It's specifically for writing games. That's the only thing I actually learned from that 1 hour tutorial, which was slightly
okay.
disappointing, really. You know, but it was nice to see that it was 4 women who were in their day job is to write game music. You know,
Nice, nice.
um, so yes. So and anything else? We're moving on to the money side, are we?
Yeah, yeah. So, it's big industry. It's recognized that with um, the change in listening habits and the domination of subscription models with the streamers is that the artists aren't getting a fair deal.
Yeah.
So I looked into, undoubtedly physical sales is still the best way to pass on your money directly to the
I
artists,
agree.
right? So kind of I've gone deep on this and I've broken it down.
Oh, good.
So so if you buy a CD if you buy a CD, let's call it 12 quid, right?
Yeah,
It's about that, right? They differ. CDs in price, the price of CDs haven't fluctuated that much, right? If you think the Dire Straits album back in 1985, that was probably what, 8 quid?
I mean, I don't. I
CD
can't,
albums were, if they're £12 now, they've only gone up
they haven't
50%
gone up that
in
much. I mean,
40 years.
it is worth mentioning that from a record label point of view, we were talking majors here, not small independents. You know, record labels have tried to sell us the same music in different formats all the way along. So we had vinyl, we had cassettes, we had CDs, and they are still trying to do that to some extent, you know.
Multi-formats.
So and you get, I mean, I have a friend who buys lots of specialist box sets. So, and I think there's a David Bowie box set coming out, which is about 300 quid. So I don't know what the albums is or how many albums it is, but there's lots of material that's never been released before. And so clearly there is a massive market for those people that buy vinyl and CD box sets. I don't do that very, I mean, I've got one or two smaller box sets and I've usually bought them in, you know, in a sale. HMV did a sale once on a Bruce Springsteen box set. So it was the album. It was a live concert DVD, and it was a documentary about making the album. And it was Darkness on the Edge of Town, I think, was the album. So I mean, and it was the normal price of I think it was about 15 quid, something like that. But they were flogging it off, was HMV in York when they were closing. So you know, they are trying to sell us the same thing over and over again, and we fall for it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, if there's a market.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know.
So CDs, 12 quid, let's say, in the shop. So about 13% of the retail value of a CD goes to the artist. So about £1.50.
Right.
It breaks down to, so 13% to the artist, 30% will go to the label. This is, you know, if you're on a big label, 30% will go to the record label. You've got VAT, of course. Yes. You've got to pay VAT. The retailer gets about 17%, and then the rest goes to the manufacturers, distributors, copywriting. So CD, you get about £1.50 if you sell one, you know, per.
I'm just going to work out what the VAT is on an album, because I think that's quite. Because so if we're saying it's 12 quid, where's me? My little
17.5% VAT still, isn't it? Is it 17?
No, 20. It's 20%.
20 now.
So 12 quid.
£22.40.
So £10. So once the government's taken their percentage of that 12 quid, so that you've got the pie is 12 quid, is 10 quid.
It's 10 quid left.
So they're getting just over 10% is the artist.
Yep. After the tax,
Yeah. Which ain't a lot. And probably never was, really.
No, I know that that's if you threw a large label. So if you threw an independent label, you might get a bit more, right?
Yeah, you probably do. I'm sure with about a label like Mute, let's face it, Mute is probably one of the bigger independent labels, still independent. I think their artists get much better deals than, say, Sony and Universal and all the rest of them. You know.
So CD, let's say £1.50, right? Rule of thumb. So vinyl. If you buy vinyl, let's say you buy vinyl from an indie record store like a Rough Trade or or what is it, Rave from the Grave in Frome? Rave from the Grave, what they're called. You know, if you buy them from them, so I don't know, £22 maybe.
I would say 25 is the average.
25, yeah. So the store gets about 35%.
So you after tax, after VAT, it's £20.80. So say 20 quid. It's £20.83 actually, but
okay. So a third goes to the store.
Third goes to the store, right?
Yeah. Distributor gets 13%. The manufacturer will get 25% because the manufacturing costs are higher for vinyl. Yeah, there's not as much automation as there is for a CD, right? You make one CD, and we've all done it. You can copy hundreds, thousands, right?
I mean, you've also lost a lot of record pressing plants, because there was the last one in London closed about a month ago, because I was sent an email saying did I want to buy some of the machinery, and it was really quite sad, because there was these photographs of this pressing plant, you know, which had gone. It's obviously gone bust, you know, and they were just selling everything off, really. And I don't know if there's even a pressing plant in the UK now, you know. But that was the last one in London, which was quite sad, really, you know. So yes, the costs are a lot higher.
Yeah. So if you take out, you know, manufacturing costs for the distributor, costs for the record label, you're left with the artist gets about 25%. So they can still get, I make it as about £6.50
That's pretty
per
good,
album.
actually. I
So
think that's pretty
yeah,
good.
that's not bad. I guess the other thing to say is if you're buying vinyl from your local store, not only are you flowing quite a good contribution back to the artist directly, but you're also feeding a few small businesses that are in that
Absolutely.
supply chain, right?
Yeah.
The small record store, probably the pressing plant is a small independent, right? They're not owned. The record labels don't owe them, right?
They certainly don't, no.
The distributor. So you're actually lining the pockets of a few small businesses rather than just the big guys. Just this weekend, actually, I looked at there's a website called Elastic Stage,
Right.
um,
I think I
which
looked at them.
is
You mentioned
yeah,
you told me about them.
yeah. So I've uploaded the Ramshackle album to that. So you basically upload your WAV files, your artwork, and they give you a web page with a link, and you can go to that, and people can buy your vinyl. So you can point them to a page. It looks like your page, much like you do with a link tree or a
Yeah.
Bandcamp. You point everybody to a page on Elastic Stage. It's Elastic Stage / Ramshackle, right? It goes to your vinyl. They buy it for, you can buy one copy. So individuals can buy one for £27. They'll press one and they'll post one. They keep 80% for all their costs and their profit, and you get 20%. So that's not bad. You'll still
It's
get
not bad.
over a fiver. If
In
someone
fact, you
goes and
need to
buys,
you need to give me the link and I'll put it down below.
I will
add
do.
it.
I'll send it
Yeah,
you.
because if anybody wants to buy it, because it's a great album with a great single,
Yes.
Maniac. Actually, I've just done a quick search. So, how many record plants are in the UK? Surprisingly, AI, take it with a pinch
Yeah.
of salt because it's AI. There are currently around 58 vinyl record pressing plants in the UK.
Okay.
Those specific numbers can vary, and sometimes may cite slightly different figures.
Well, if you
Most,
think vinyl sales is growing 10% year over year, then they're
yeah,
having to increase the capacity, right?
yeah,
They've got
yeah.
to.
I mean, if you think about it in its heyday, which was the 70s and 80s,
When you're shifting millions of
yeah,
units. Yeah.
absolutely, and that's why records were cheap.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
plus, I remember there used to be a thing about because most records in the charts were not on virgin vinyl. They were remelted or reprocessed vinyl, and
Okay.
there was a whole thing about heavier vinyl records being on virgin vinyl. Well, now I suspect an awful lot of records are on virgin vinyl because those plants are not there anymore for
Yeah. Yeah.
repurposing old vinyl. You
Yeah.
know, but now that's an interesting start actually because I didn't know if there was any left in the UK.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
now they're popping back up
yeah,
because it is a bit of a growth
yeah,
model. So, if you buy vinyl, you're gonna pass on about £6, maybe a bit more to the artist, which is good. Now, when you go to the other side of the coin and streaming, right? So to make the equivalent, so if it's £6, I got it to £6.75, right, for an album. To make the same £6.75 through streaming, you need 30,000 streams.
yeah,
Okay, so that people have got to listen to one of your songs for 4.5 days straight for you to get the
yeah.
equivalent of what they get from them walking into a record shop and buying one record. Now, I did look at streaming and what do they pay royalties per stream, and it is a minefield. It's purposefully not opaque, or is it
No,
opaque? Whichever way it is,
yeah,
right?
they purposefully make it more complicated than it actually should be.
It is.
I mean,
Yes.
the one of the things that because back to Liz Pelly's book, which is called The Mood Machine. I think it's The Mood Machine, isn't it? Yeah. She said that Spotify don't say that they it's per stream. It's a percentage revenue of everybody's stream, and
That's right.
that's the bigger issue, is
Yes.
that what we want
It's all
is
weighted to the big guys.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So what we really want, if I listen to the Ramshackled album on Apple Music, I want the money to go to you guys because I've
Yep.
listened to it. But that's not how it happens, and that's why there is. it'll probably never happen, but there's been quite a lot of artists calling for a more accurate method of being able to support the artist. I mean, to some extent, you know, Bandcamp is one way of doing that, isn't it? If you buy an album on Bandcamp, you buy a digital product or a physical version, but you've bought it. You can stream it on the Bandcamp app or on the website, and you know that the artist is getting that 5, 6 quid, whatever it was that you bought, you paid for it.
Yes, and it's a shame the Bandcamp doesn't get as much traction as it should. I mean, they've just been taken over, so we've got to see where they go, right? They were taken over by a company that does kind of worldwide syncing and stuff, and they partner with all of the big corporates.
I mean, hopefully it still stays as, you know. I mean,
because
at the moment it's mainly artists, it's mainly musicians or other musicians are buying other people's, you know.
Yeah, rather than let's say the general public.
The
yes,
general public, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Bandcamp is 80%. So if you sell, if you're selling an album for a tenner, you're getting 8 quid directly to the artist. The good thing with Bandcamp, or even if you're buying off labels, you know, a lot of record labels. I don't know if you go to Ninja Tune or Mute or any of those, and you'd buy an MP3 version from them. One, you're going to pass the money on directly to the artist, but you can actually import it into your Apple Music playlist, right? That's something that Apple does that Spotify doesn't.
What, from Bandcamp?
If you download a WAV file,
I see. Yes.
You can play it back in your Apple.
Yes, and I have done
that.
So
you can listen to it on the go with the rest of your Apple Music library, but you know that you've paid for it and you've passed the money on to the artist, right?
There's another thing as well that just, again, it's the sort of sidebar, but I pay for storage on Apple, the Apple ecosystem, should we call it, for music, and I can actually basically rip CDs to my Apple accounts, and I haven't done it for a while, but I went through a whole period of putting that stuff up there, and it's very cheap. It's something like 21 quid a year I pay for that service, and so I should be able to do exactly the same. I hadn't thought of that because I've got so much music on the Bandcamp app that I could actually transfer over if I wanted to. To be fair, I've got the Bandcamp app on my phone, so I can just do it anyway. It's just a different app.
It's just if you want to integrate it into.
I mean that's and it's quite a good. It's quite an interesting, and that's been going for a long time.
The other thing to say in terms of, we don't want to get into a whole Spotify versus other, because look, Apple don't need any more money either, right? Tim Cook's doing very well, thank you very much. Absolutely. He doesn't need more money from you and I. But what Apple has got over Spotify as well is you can now DJ with Apple Music. So it's integrated with Serato now. So, that was something that was always restricted.
So what's Serato? I don't know what Serato is.
It's the DJ software that allows you to beat mix.
Okay.
You can do all of the effects that all the DJs do. So Serato is integrated with Apple now. There's to this date, Spotify doesn't integrate with any DJ software. It's very much a closed shop. So I've got loads of stuff on streaming, and it actually makes my head hurt. And we are going to do a whole streaming session anyway, I think, in the future. Yes. But just to put something into context, right? So, the album I put out in March, I think we've got 2,000. We've probably got about 2,000 streams, maybe about 3,000 streams, right? Which you've got to reach a certain level before you even get into.
I'm going to say, have any of the tracks hit the 1,000 payment?
So you've got to hit barrier? No, you've got to hit. I think it's 1,500 per track, but then it's got to be
1,500. I thought it was 1,000.
I mean, I like I say, 1,500. It's a big number per track.
Wow.
But then it's got to be by a certain number of listeners. So you can't just have a bot listening to one track over and over again to get you 1,000 listens. Yeah. It's got to be 1,000 listens by like 100 different listeners or something. Right. There's no way of finding that out. Now, just a couple of last things and we'll move off streaming. Sure. So 25% of everything that's on Spotify, which is, they've got millions and millions and millions, right? So 25% of all the tracks on Spotify receive zero payout because they don't meet the threshold for payout. It is 1,500 streams. Sorry, right. It is 1,500. So 25% of it on that is not earning a single penny.
Including us, including Sinners Music. We
Yes.
haven't had a payout.
Now, if I'm sitting here and I've got probably about 2,500-3,000 streams total across the album. No individual track has met the threshold. But someone with 2 million streams, if you felt you had 2 million streams, you're reaching a pretty big audience, right? You'd be thinking, yeah, I'd give for 2 million streams. If you had 2 million streams, you'd still only receive about £3,000 a year. So, 2 million streams you'd be thinking you'd be a pretty, high flying artist. You get £3,000 from streaming for that. It's not going to cover the cost of your Moog Messenger.
It's not even. It's not even going to cover the cost of producing the album, because the average. I mean, I know it's less for us because we're self-producing albums, but if you go into a recording studio and you get a producer and you put the cheapest you can do an album for is about $5,000. So that $3,000 is probably half what it. That's so you're over 2 years before and you've got to obviously consistently hit 2 million streams. But you're 2 years before you're more or less breaking even.
Yeah.
Which is pathetic, really, isn't it?
Now, Apple does pay per stream. Apple pays twice as much as Spotify. But as we've seen, Apple haven't got the user base.
I've got a stat. I don't think I can, because it's on my iPad. That I screenshotted from one of these, one of the videos I mentioned. And because this girl put one of the, let me just find my photography app and photos, and I'll probably read it out. So streaming payouts. Okay, here we are. Napster,
the kind of OG.
I know, original. 0.01900 payouts per stream.
Okay,
so that's the highest. So it's gone from high to low. So number one is Napster. Number two is Tidal, which is 0.01250 per stream. So all this is per stream. Next is Apple with 0.00735.
Yeah.
Google Play's next with 0.00676. Then Deezer, then Spotify, which is 0.00437. And then you've got Amazon a bit lower than that, something called Pandora, and YouTube. Surprisingly, YouTube at the bottom with, so this is YouTube music, isn't it? Yes. So it's 0.00669. So that's just ridiculously low, isn't it?
Yeah. 1,000 streams gets you 5p.
Yeah. Exactly. But, that's why we've never had a payout from YouTube.
Yes. So look, a lot of stuff to get into there. So I think we should do a whole streaming thing, because actually we're talking about the dominating guys. There are a lot of other you talked about Deezer, there's Beatport, there is Bandcamp. There's a lot of other stuff that we should feature. That it is a very busy market, but it's hard to break what is the duopoly, triopoly of the big guys, right? But there is a place for it, because people are going to be listening to music. People are going to stream music for decades.
Yeah,
there's got to be a better way than only the big guys, and I'm sure somebody will come up with it. But I guess to summarize, my recommendation would be to carry on streaming, because streaming is still a good way of getting access to things, of discovering new things, getting playlists, an old album that your parents owned that you'd never pick up unless you go to a record fair, all of that stuff. I mean, we do that. That's fine.
You just said about playlists. I wouldn't recommend anybody to be listening to playlists.
Right.
I mean, I know that's what you do. So we'll agree to disagree on this one. I think it's much more important to go and try and find new artists without using playlists. Because I know that playlist idea is like the old radio idea, isn't it? That you'd listen to something on the radio and then you go out and buy it. Yeah. I don't think you can rely on playlists to that extent anymore. There was a time when you probably could,
sure,
but you can't now. So I think and it's a harder thing to do. And actually, at the moment, believe it or not, TikTok, as much as anything, somebody pops up who you've never heard of before, and they play, and they're there with their guitar. I discovered Allure that way. She was there playing a guitar. I thought, by God, she's got a great voice. Song's really good. and then started to follow her and all the rest of it. So, and it's not just TikTok, but there's other ways as well. But yeah, I think you have to search for your music,
Sure. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
but then again, I've never been a playlist person really, you know. So
So I would say, if streaming's not going to go, so to get the best mix of the the tech,
yeah,
the sound quality, and the overall user experience, by all means stream it. But if you find an artist or an album that you like, and I'm personally doing this, if there's an artist that you like, whether it was off a playlist or was recommended or you heard it on the radio, put it on your streaming. But if you really like it, then go and find them on Bandcamp,
yeah,
go and find them on their own website,
yeah,
go and find them on their record label,
yeah,
purchase a digital download of them. If you don't want to buy vinyl, purchase the digital download, because then a high percentage of that money is going to flow to the artist, and
yeah.
then import it into your Apple library. So that's if there's something you like, you go, right, then go and find the artist and go and buy it direct from their website if you can,
Absolutely.
or on Bandcamp. Right? And
Absolutely.
then they get all the money.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So,
right. So, is it Ask Ian?
yeah, let's go. Yeah, okay.
You were hesitating there, mate.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Oh dear.
What have we got? I don't know. I mean, I've obviously last week meant you drummed up those lovely pictures of you looking like
Yeah.
Peter Murphy.
Me is Tom Bailey from Talk Talk from Thompson Twins.
What have I got? I'm just trying to think of anything relevant. Okay, so what? Let me just because I've had an interesting week being in two capital cities on the same day. I was in Paris and then London. Give me a favorite capital city of yours, or a city, other than the UK. Give me a city that's a favorite of yours, and why.
I mean, I quite like Paris, but it's not my favorite. And I like London. And like any capital city, you have to be careful wherever you go, really, in any capital city. My all-time favorite capital city, and I won't be going back there while the person
in
running
America,
the country.
I guess.
Yes, I absolutely love New York.
Right.
And there are areas of New York. I mean, Hell's Kitchen can be a little bit scary at times, even now. Right. I've been twice to New York, and once to Washington, but New York is just such a great place. So if you've never been to New York,
I've been once. I went last year, but we only did.
Oh, yes, you did last year, yeah.
We only did the tourist stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, somebody said to me, "Oh, you're going for." We went for 10 days at one point, and went, "You going to New York for 10 days? There's not enough to do in New York." Oh, yes, there is.
Of course, there is.
Yeah, and actually, one of the best things in New York, I did the boat trip to the Statue of Liberty, which was actually very disappointing. But as part of that, there's the Ellis Island trip, which is obviously which was the original immigration centre. That is absolutely brilliant. In fact, I've been there twice, and I even did the hard hat tour, where you go around the disused, derelict part of the island.
Right.
You have to book it well in advance, and that is just absolutely brilliant. It's February, right? And because it's February in New York, and let's face it, February in New York is bloody freezing. And we had thermal long johns on, and it was so cold. It was just so cold walking around this, but it was absolutely brilliant. So you went around the old immigration hospital, and I think they've extended it even now because you couldn't go upstairs because it wasn't safe. But they've so the hard hat tour of Ellis Island is a must if you go to New York.
Nice.
So yeah, New York's my favourite city.
So how timely on the anniversary of 9/11?
Yeah,
24 years ago today.
I mean, it's funny actually because that day that 9/11 happened, because it was lunchtime here, wasn't it? And I happened to walk into the centre of. I was working for the North Yorkshire College of Health Sciences, and I walked, and it's a short walk into town, and as I walked into town, I was going to a few shops. I knew something was going on because I could hear that people were talking about, and I didn't, because you overhear bits of conversation.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got back to my office and Jane rang me and said, "Put the TV." Because I worked in media. I'd TVs in my office, so I literally put the TV on in the office, and then the world actually did change that day. Really, there aren't
Yes.
many days.
Definitely.
People say that all the time about days. The day that the world changed, but actually that day the world did change.
Yeah, there are defining moments in history that
Absolutely.
we've talked about
Yeah.
in history curriculum for
Yeah.
years, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
and kind of COVID. There's a pre-COVID and a post-COVID time, right?
There is. I
It
mean,
was pretty.
COVID felt very scary. I mean, I think it felt scary for most of us because we didn't know whether we were going to come out at the end of it because so many people were
Mm,
dying.
mm,
You know,
yeah,
I mean, hopefully we'll never see it again in our lifetime, but it will happen again because
yes.
as a species we make the same mistakes.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
they won't be as prepared. Now in theory, now we should be more prepared for a COVID type event, a pandemic, but we're not, and we won't be because
No,
governments don't do that. It's
no.
all short.
And they're stopping all funding as well
Yeah, it's
in
all
the
short
US,
term.
right?
It's
So
all short term. It'll never happen in our lifetime, sort of
yeah,
mentality, isn't it?
yeah.
But it wasn't pleasurable living through that. I mean, we were lucky. We didn't have any family members that died of COVID. You know, but I've friends who did. You know, and it was horrible. You
Mm,
know, and
yeah.
Jane and I were lucky in the fact that we had each other. A lot of people were on their own. We had us, and my mother was in our bubble at the time. You know, um, but hey ho. Yeah. Oh, that was an easy one. That was a nice asking actually.
Yeah,
So
I didn't give you any challenges there, but I was just thinking it was a nice full circle as I'd been traveling a bit this week,
yeah,
and then as it happens, you mentioned New York kind of time, and it was 9/11,
yeah.
and you're right, you wouldn't go at the moment, but yeah, I can imagine it was, there's a lot of amazing places in the US, but actually they're going to lose a whole generation of people that aren't going to want to go out there, right?
No, I mean, I'm not that well traveled around the world really. So I've been to Germany, I've been to France, and I've been to Austria, and I've been to America, and that's probably it, really.
Right.
I've been to Florida. I went and worked. I spoke at a conference a couple of years in Florida, and I quite liked Florida, although we were told to stay uptown, don't go
Right.
downtown.
Right.
So I didn't really. I
Right.
stayed on the I drive pretty much in Florida,
Right.
you know. But and we did extend it because Jane and the boys came over at one point because I was there for about 4 days at this conference, and then we tacked a few days on at the end, and we went and did the Cape Kennedy and some of the theme parks for the boys because they were about 10, 11 at the time, you know.
Right.
But I'm not that well traveled. I'd like to travel around more of America, you know. But
After the
yes,
next
while
election.
while while Mr. Trump is there, it ain't going to happen because
No,
I'm
no,
just not going there, you know.
no, not good.
Um,
So enough
so
of him. There's other podcasts that talk about him all day.
absolutely, we
Um,
shouldn't give him any more airtime than is necessary, really.
no. So
Um,
recommendations.
Recommendations, yes. So I've been buying. I mean, apart from buying software, I've actually bought a T-shirt, a band T-shirt, and I'm going to recommend the Battery Operated Orchestra. I bought their T-shirt, and it actually came with an album, which actually funny enough I already own. But so this was through their Bandcamp site, and I'll stick it down below. I think they've got a new album out as well, which if you don't know who the Battery Operated Orchestra are, they're a duo they're actually currently in New Haven, but they are moving to Hastings or
Okay.
a part of Hastings. So Chris plays synths and Bridget is singer and also plays synths, and they're great. It's sort of electro pop, but they do everything themselves. I mean, the production of the CDs, they actually farm out to a small, but they're a little, but they do all their own marketing, pretty much like what we do, really.
Right.
They're not signed to a label. They don't, and I've never had that conversation with them. They don't need us. They're doing well on their own. But their stuff is really worth a listen. So go and listen to, but the short. I mean, when they came up with the name, the Battery Operated Orchestra, they said we didn't think about it so they shortened it to Boo. So I've bought a Boo T-shirt really
Boo.
for
Nice.
15 quid.
Good.
So yeah, so that's one of my recommendations. The other one is to go see that film if you can. I'm Still Here, the Brazilian film. It won't be on general release, but you might get to see it on streaming at some point, but look out for it. It's brilliant. It really was brilliant. Because Jane and I were talking about it at tea and saying that it still stayed with us. We were still thinking about it.
Good. And they're the best ones, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you? Well, actually, what I will say is I recommend your album, but on vinyl. Anybody interested in buying an album on vinyl, go and buy the Ramshackled album. We'll put
the link in.
We'll put the link downstairs. It's got nothing to do with Sinners music. We're not taking a cut. So just go if you're into, listen to the album first, and then go and buy it from you. And if you do buy it, because there won't be a streaming version, will there? If they buy it, I'll do some promo codes, and if they drop us an email, we'll send them a free promo code
for a digital download.
Download, so they get the vinyl, but they'll also be able to get it. So we'll do that.
Nice.
Because we haven't got any promo codes for that. I haven't. I get so many. I think I've got 1,000 or something, or 700. So I can do 100 of them easily.
So I've got a test press. So you can, as an artist, you can order the test press for the same price.
Yeah.
It's coming on the 1st of October. So, providing that's okay, maybe we think about any choice releases on Sinners music, whether we want to do it. It costs nothing to put it up there other than
it's just time, innit?
And if you can point people to it from your Bandcamp page, from your website, there's no harm if people want the final copy, right?
Yeah.
Give it a go.
If we can point to it from the Sinners Music Bandcamp site, we'll do that then.
Which we can. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, as soon as you're happy with it, then we'll do that.
And then we'll have a think about it for other Sinners releases.
Yeah.
So my recommendation, and it's quite interesting in terms of it's full circle really from the discussion we've had today. So there's a band I've been following and been into for a while called Weevil. They're Dutch, so it's Weval. It's either Weevil or Wevel. I don't know. Weval.
Eval.
Yeah. So if I weren't on streaming, I would never have found them. Right. They came up on Release Radar. Here's something that we think you might like based on what you listen to. So it's an electronic dance act. It's kind of I don't know. I'd say Royksop-y. Remember Royksop?
Oh, I do remember Royksop. Yeah.
So that
I've got an album by Royksop, but they were never really on my. I'm sure I've got a CD that I picked up probably in a charity shop or something like that.
Right. So not doing them justice saying they're like that, but it's EDM. It's a sound of its own. It's kind of part easy listening. It's quite good. So I quite like them. I've always been listening to their releases. They've been doing a countdown to their latest album. I listened to their latest album on Apple Music. I was like, yeah, I like it. I went to their website and I bought the vinyl from their website. And what was quite nice is it was a white label signed by the artist.
Oh, wow.
It's a nice little treat.
Yeah,
so, I bought it off their website, so they'll maximize their income from that rather than it goes through a record store and distribution and all of that. I get something that's quite unique. It's a one-off because it's signed. Now, okay, they probably sit and sign hundreds of copies, in a sitting, but it's still fairly unique. So I'll still listen to it on streaming. So I'm paying for streaming, so I'll still listen to it on streaming. But when I have a vinyl listening session, I've got, I own the vinyl. So, that's I really like them. They are on tour at the moment. Their website looks pretty good, actually. They're only playing one date in the UK, which is at Hackney Church
Don't know what
in
that is. I mean, I know
November.
it's Hackney.
Yeah,
Hackney Church.
Hackney Church, but on a weekday in November. I
It's
like
not
them, but
the
I don't think I'm going to make it.
because I mean Hackney Church because I know Hackney quite well, but I don't know that as a venue.
Is it Hackney Church? Let me just pull up this.
It's
Have a
not the
read.
it's not the chapel, is it? Because that's not
Have a
in
look.
Hackney. That's in Hammersmith. Hammersmith.
Hackney Church, yeah, Hackney
Hackney
Church in
Church.
London, yeah,
That's it. Because interesting, but
yeah. So I really like them. As I say,
I'll have a listen.
I went and bought it, direct from them, which meant yes, I can listen to it on streaming, but my conscience is clear because I've been and bought the vinyl direct from them, so that was quite nice.
And I think you're absolutely right to do that. I mean, that's. I mean, as I said earlier, I have been buying more. I mean, I always buy more CDs than vinyl, and I listen to more CDs than vinyl actually.
Right.
But over the last year, I have bought more vinyl than I probably ever have. You know, usually from the guy who turns up in at the Froome Independent Market. I had a look again on Sunday when we were in town. He didn't have anything actually because it rained. It rained a lot just before we went into town, and he had no CDs. I think he must have put them back in the car. And I always look at his sort of more experimental stuff because he's got. I mean, I bought some really good experimental stuff from him. You know,
Right.
so I'm all for actually buying from the artist is such a good thing we should do. And the other thing is, I wonder if we're going to start. I mean, yes, we've got a resurgence of vinyl, and although CDs have flatlined, are we going to see more people doing what we're saying not doing, which is buying either a vinyl or CD from the artist, and you still have your streaming account to actually try and discover some new music. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
hopefully, I would rather see that happening.
Or is there? Right, and we're going on a while here. It's been a long old session, but I wonder whether there's a model. If you think of some of the monsters of the industry, the Taylor Swifts, the Noah Kahns, the Chappell Roans, the Sabrina Carpenters, right? They're so big, and I know they've got the record label behind them, but it needs one of them who are a bit more forward thinking, a bit more progressive. Couldn't they do their own subscription model? My daughter's into Taylor Swift or Gracie Abrams or any of them. If they offered their own unique subscription model, so if I'm Gracie Abrams and I said, you subscribe to gracieabrams.com, £5 a month, you'll get exclusive access to all my releases, all my merch, concert tickets. Isn't that the way to go?
I think. I mean, here's a nice segue. Sinners Music already do this.
Oh,
So we have two subscription models, and we have people who subscribe on both models. So the first subscription model is for £3 a month. You get, I think 20. I think it's 26 downloads. It might be 27, but you get at least 26 downloads plus all new releases as a download
right.
for £3 a month. And what happens is that if you stop the subscription, then you've still got them. They don't
They
disappear
don't
out of your,
expire. Yeah.
you know.
Nice.
The other model is for £15 a month. You get everything we've ever put out. Now, some are CDs that are while they still exist, that are not available as streaming. So, like the Bloody Marys album, demonstrations. Ryan doesn't want that put on streaming, so we haven't done that. But there are still, I think, 10 copies left. There was only ever 100 copies, so that's already been sent out to people that are subscribed for £15 a month. So provide they get 3 CDs or tapes, because there's a couple of tapes as well, per month, So they'll get a selection. They get instant access to all the digital stuff, but so they get 3 a month while they've got the subscription. Okay.
Yeah.
And so because we keep putting albums out, what will happen is once they've got everything else that's already in the back catalogue, they'll keep getting white label versions. So independent, I will create a white label version of the albums that we're putting out now. So they'll get them at some point in the future.
Yeah.
So we are already. There's not masses of people, but there are people using it, and thank you very much to those people that do support us and the artists that way. We've got a bigger issue of trying to split the royalties of 15 quid when the cost of making the CDs and all the rest of it, the postage. But we're talking pennies rather than anything else. But it will be split between everybody at some point in the future. So yes, subscription models do work.
Direct user to consumer.
Absolutely.
Immediately, cut everybody else out.
But do you really want Universal Music or Sony Music to be doing that?
No, but I'm saying, could an artist break away, right? If their contract expired and they started making new stuff, could they do an exclusive?
I think some artists already do that. Isn't that how Radiohead work?
Is it? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked at Radiohead for quite a while, but
they've just announced a tour, haven't they?
Have they?
Mm.
I mean, I used to really like Radiohead. I've not listened to the last. You recommended the Tom York album, which I have listened to. I haven't bought it though.
No. It's a grower.
Yeah,
it's definitely
I
a
need
grower.
to probably listen to it a bit more. I have got a single that was given with Electronic Sound a few months ago. But so yeah, it's. I mean, the argument you've got there is that bands like Radiohead became famous because they were signed to a major record label, and then that expires, but they have still got that fan base. The problem for smaller artists now is they don't get to that point of fan base.
Sure.
It's so difficult.
Yeah.
Although having said that, Allure, she's on her first major tour, and I'm going to see her in Bristol. You can't go, but I am going with somebody else. Half of the tour is already sold out, and I'm really chuffed for her, actually.
Good for her.
They're reasonable size sort of venues. They're not massive venues, but she sold out Bristol, and half of the ones on the rest of the tour. So up and coming artists like that.
Good.
And she signed to Dance to the Radio in Leeds. Anyway, we digress. Anything else?
No, I don't think so. It's been a pretty long one, so
It has. There's no cinnamon bun chat this week. We've missed that. We can leave without that because I haven't had any.
You haven't had one anyway.
No,
okay.
no.
All right.
And I haven't got. There's nowhere in Froome to get one really at the moment. This M&S are on my hit list.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, matey. Well, I'll see you. So we're back to a fortnight. So we'll plan the next one. For 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, I'll come up with a topic. Maybe we do. Shall we continue from this and look at some of the other platforms for using music? We have left some of the other guys behind.
Well,
Let's see what comes up.
Why don't we do one on Bandcamp?
That's not a bad idea. Focus on Bandcamp.
Focus on Bandcamp because let's do that.
Okay.
And then we can look at some of the other ones.
Very good.
Okay, matey.
All right.
Have a good week. Have a good fortnight. I'll talk to you before then, but I'll see you later.
Yeah, let's stay in touch. All right.
Cheers.
Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.